YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. We know that there's great deceptions that are going to be coming. In fact, we could be living through them right now as we speak with many of the deceptions that we see on a day in, day out basis. Everything we're told is truth, is really a lie. And right now, there are a bunch of stories out there about how Donald Trump will in fact be the person who releases and reveals the information on quote unquote extraterrestrial life forms, or what they like to call aliens. There's a new movie out where the director talks about how he believes that Donald Trump will be the one to reveal existence of non-human intelligent life in the near future. And I'm covering this for a lot of reasons. We've all talked about Project Bluebeam. We've all talked about how there's a deception between aliens and demons, and how Aleister Crowley even wrote in his teachings that today they call them angels and demons, and tomorrow they will call themselves something else. And that, of course, is alien. The depiction of an actual gray alien comes from Aleister Crowley's drawings of the entity that he summoned known as Lam. And why there's concern about this is because Christians are ripe for the picking. We see how easily deceived they are in today's world. We see, even of course, on a day in, day out basis, how they are lumping in a United States of America with God, with nationalism with God, with the United States of America being God's chosen country. And of course, after Trump's fake assassination attempt, we saw how easy it was for them to manipulate Christians with things like divine intervention. I played all those clips where every single Republican talking head on television made sure they went out of their way to talk about how a divine intervention saved Donald Trump's life. Even last year, they were talking about how God spared Trump. Trump went on stage and talked about how if it wasn't for God, he wouldn't be here today. So Christians are ripe for the picking for massive deceptions moving forward. And obviously, we can look at Project Bluebeam, and we can look at some of the things that have been discussed in regards to the Vatican, who is expecting an increase in supernatural phenomenon and apparitions, and of course, talking about how they've updated the norms for investigating alleged apparitions. They're going to tell you what is a real sign from God and what is not a sign from God. They are going to be the do-all, tell-all, the Catholic Church, which means obviously run, because you can't trust what any of these people actually tell you, which means they're setting you up for a deception. Now, I want to cover this movie because all this talk about Trump being the one to release this information is coming from a film that's been released called The Age of Disclosure. And they just released a clip from their film on YouTube, and I want to play it for you because what they're referencing in this clip is ancient civilizations living down in the ocean. You've probably heard that theory before, and it sounds a lot like what we've heard in the past when it comes to Atlantis. And I want to reference that because there's a lot of things that have happened since Trump became president in regards to references to Atlantis and to the Nephilim and the fallen angels. So let's start with this clip that they put up on YouTube where they're now talking about, well, yes, aliens flying up in the sky coming from Mars, but they really could be down in the ocean.
The American people are ready to receive the truth. We've heard testimonials from pilots as well as civilians from different countries having seen things come from the ocean. These are otherworldly things that are performing maneuvers that haven't been seen.
We have mapped the surface of Mars and the moon to a higher resolution than the Earth's seafloor. If any intelligence were to arrive here and not want to be detected, it would stay in the ocean.
Are we looking at an entire world underneath the water? Stay tuned.
So what they're doing with this film is they're interviewing all of these guys that we're supposed to trust, right? Ex-CIA officials, ex-military, black ops, all guys who are trained to lie and deceive, who all of a sudden have the courage to come forward in a documentary to tell you that aliens are real because they're preparing you, of course, for a major deception. So one of the characters in the film is telling you that many nations have reported seeing things coming from the ocean and how any intelligence, if it were to arrive here and not want to be detected, it would stay in the oceans. And that should automatically make people think of Atlantis. Now, a lot of Christians don't know much about the origins of the stories of Atlantis. All they really know is of, the Atlantis Hotel or things like that in pop culture where we hear Atlantis constantly referenced. But Plato is where the story of Atlantis originates from. But if you actually read the story of Atlantis or look deep into the story of Atlantis and the civilizations in Atlantis, it has a lot of comparisons to what we would look at biblically as the fallen angels and the Nephilim. And in addition to that, Atlantis in the story was a highly advanced naval empire which was ruled by 10 kings descended from Poseidon. Of course, we know about in the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 12, the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. We know about the 10 kingdom plan, of course, from the Club of Rome that they are acting out as we speak by trying to merge nations like Greenland, countries like Greenland and Canada with the United States of America. And the other thing with Plato's depiction of Atlantis is how Atlantis was specifically known as the Golden Age. And where have we heard that before? Well, since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, all we've heard about is the Golden Age of America. So there's two comparisons right there with Atlantis, the Golden Age, and Donald Trump. And on top of that, what's important to point out is that occultists like Helena Blavatsky, who many of you may remember Helena Blavatsky's connection to a lot of occult teachings and Aleister Crowley. Well, Blavatsky described Atlantis as a human hybrid race and was referencing the Nephilim in her teachings. In the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 4, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward when the sons of God went into the daughters of humans who bore children to them. These were the heroes that were of old, warriors of renown. And in the story of Atlantis, Poseidon mates with one human woman at the very beginning, and then their half-divine offspring founded the royal bloodlines of Atlantis, which has a eerie similarity to the Nephilim, of course, bearing children with the daughters of humans. Another reference to the Nephilim is in Numbers chapter 13, verses 32 through 33. And they spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land they had explored. They said, the land we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are of great size. We saw the Nephilim there, the descendants of Enoch come from the Nephilim. We seem like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. And the reason I'm referencing this with this story, with this movie, which is referencing aliens possibly coming from the sea, is because, again, of course, we should all be thinking in terms of demonic entities, fallen angels, versus thinking about aliens that are flying around in spaceships that come from Pluto and Uranus. This is a spiritual war that we're involved in, where they try to make it seem like these things are scientific anomalies. These are people who are living on different planets. These are interdimensional beings that they summon and bring forth. And I'm bringing up Atlantis here with Donald Trump because they're talking about Donald Trump being the one to reveal possibly all of this hidden knowledge that the government's been hiding from us all these years. And you might remember Elon Musk posting on November 5th of 2024, Dark MAGA Assemble. He posted this video that I'm playing for you, which was extremely apocalyptic. It featured the end times, the darkening of the sun, the Battle of Armageddon. And also in this clip, which again was posted by Elon Musk, was shared by Donald Trump and many other in the MAGA circles, there's many references to Atlantis, which I pointed out at the time. Take a look at this, posted by Elon Musk.
He calls it dark MAGA. As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA. My sole and exclusive mission is to go to war for our country, to go to war for you. It's time to deliver a victory for the American people. We don't win anymore, but we are going to start winning again. I'm not just MAGA. I'm Gothic MAGA. From mountain to mountain, from ocean to ocean, hear these words. You will never be ignored again. And yes, together, we will make America great again. Winning again. Winning like never before. Never, ever let you down. This is Donald Trump's house, brother. America is a nation of believers, dreamers, and strivers. We will bring back our jobs. We will bring back our borders. We will bring back our wealth. And we will bring back our dreams. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America.
So again, you saw references to the end times with the clock ticking and the darkening of the sun. You saw the battlefield, which was depicting the Battle of Armageddon. And then if you slow down the clips, which I did when I broke this video down last year, and it is available on the website for anybody that wants to join the website and check it out. Descendants of the became destructive Atlantis, the Atlantis stone. And then there's even an image of a wolf, which we could look at as a wolf in sheep's clothing, which is exactly what Donald Trump is. And there's a quote on the screen, and the quote is referencing Plato's Atlantis, describing Atlantis as flashing with the red light of orichalcum. Plato wrote that the metal, second only in value to gold, was mined in the mythical island and was used to cover Poseidon's temple interior walls, columns, and floors. And what you see on the screen, where you could see the word brass and you could see and the third and you could see the word red light, this is directly from it. It says around the soaring or brass and the third circle, which with the red light of orichalcum. The orichalcum is often associated with Atlantis lore. So there's a lot of bizarre connections with Donald Trump. We know about the connections with Apollo, the golden god. Obviously, Trump depicts himself as the golden god, the golden apartment, the golden statues that we see Christians bowing down in front of. Christians are primed for some type of deception. If anybody was going to bring forth Project Bluebeam or potentially even revealing these fallen angels and telling the world that they're actually an alien race that's been hiding at sea and convincing Christians of it and convincing Christians that these are different beings and not demonic entities, it would be Donald Trump, because they'll believe any word that comes out of his mouth. So now we have this movie that's coming out. And again, there's millions of these UFO movies. But it's interesting to note that the guy who directed this UFO movie, compared to the other thousands that are out there, has access to all these government officials, which means that it's being done by design, which means the government's really the one producing it. He's going on Joe Rogan and promoting it, and he's telling the world that he believes that Donald Trump's the one who's going to release these files. And then you look into what he's discussing with his 34 government insiders revealing the truth about aliens, and they're talking all of a sudden about how they've mapped out the surface of the earth and how it's very possible that these alien beings who arrive via so-called spaceship have been hiding and living underground in our oceans. And then you think about what that means and what we've been taught and what we've heard in, Greek mythology about Atlantis, but also what in occult theology they teach of in Atlantis with the fallen angels and the Nephilim. And you start to say, well, why has Donald Trump been connected to Atlantis? Why was he mentioning Atlantis? Or was it being mentioned in Atlantis in these bizarre videos that were being posted by him and Elon Musk around the time of the election, where they were consistently referencing end-time biblical prophecy mixed in with Atlantis? It makes you wonder if everybody's just primed for some major deception that's coming. And the answer is likely yes, because we're told in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 9 through 12, the coming of the lawless one will be in accordance with how Satan works. He will use all sorts of displays of power through signs and wonders that serve the lie. And all the ways that wickedness deceives those who are perishing, they perish because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. For this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion so that they will believe the lie, and so that all will be condemned who have not believed the truth but have delighted in wickedness. So whether it's something like Project Bluebeam or it's actually revealing of a hybrid human race, Donald Trump could probably convince Christians that this hybrid human race is for the betterment of mankind, that this hybrid human race should mix with the offspring of humans' DNA because it'll be for the betterment of mankind. These people will believe anything. And it might sound insane to actually suggest, but if you actually sit here and think about it and watch what we've witnessed over the last couple of years, if you talk to people about Donald Trump's assassination being as staged as anything we've ever seen before, they lose their minds. They can't even believe that you would suggest that. But if you talk to them about Sandy Hook, they immediately go, oh yeah, right? And then you look at the two and you go, well, very similar things going on here, right? In fact, at least with Donald Trump's assassination, we had to watch him act it out on stage. And instead of, somebody who got shot in the ear getting carried off, he decided to stand up and pump his fist and yell, fight, fight, fight. And we saw how the Secret Service and everybody got in position to take this photograph so that the rest of the world would suddenly be in a psychosis and think that this guy was actually a god, and that this guy was actually chosen by God to save America. That's the delusion that we're living in, a strong delusion. So we can expect, if they do reveal the UFO information, which of course would all be controlled information that they reveal, that they want revealed for massive deceptions, whether the Vatican's involved in it or not, where they try to say that Project Bluebeam and they try to act this out in the sky and the Vatican comes out and tells you that it's actually Fatima or it's actually Jesus himself in the sky. Donald Trump will be on board and support it, and his followers will believe it. And they'll look at the rest of us like we have 10 heads, because that's how deep the psychosis goes. So I thought it was interesting seeing all these headlines about Trump being the one who's going to reveal the alien deception, and then looking at part of what they're going to, start pumping out there is that alien civilizations live underwater. And it's very similar to Atlantis. And what was with all this stuff connected to Donald Trump and Atlantis and all these things that we've seen with Donald Trump and bringing in the golden age, which is a direct reference to Atlantis itself. Thought it was food for thought. I wanted to do a video on it. I hope everybody out there is doing well. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. God bless all of you as always, and your families.